How did I get involved in this? Well, being French, it has to be because of a woman. I wanted to reconquer my ex-girlfriend, so I invited her to the restaurant. I did not know anything about wine, so I asked for advice, and I thought this was very expensive and not so good, so I thought I had to do something about this. And the following day at university was the day where the different clubs introduced themselves, and you had the right to join 2 clubs, so of course the rugby club was my first choice. And then I thought, the fee for the wine club is nominal, let's try it. And the first tasting, so I meet the guys, I say, when's the first tasting? I say, oh, it's next week, okay. Bordeaux, Burgundy, Côte d'Or, no, you must come, it's champagne, and listen to this. For me, champagne at that time was yellow with bubbles, and if you were lucky, you did not get a headache. And they say, no, you must come, it's Bollinger. I said, Bolly who? Never heard of that. And so I went, backwards, but I went. And after 20 minutes, I knew that wine would play a major role in my life. So thank Champagne, thank Bollinger for this. In fact, it's a sort of a 3-band pool game. Philipponnat is very big in Italy. Italy is our biggest export market, and the Italian connection has worked for us in many countries. And Aquila is the specialist for Italian wines in Australia. And through common friends, we talked, and here we are. So all the Italian sommeliers, all the Italian chefs who have worked in Italy will know Philipponnat from their Italian days. And this is a great link for us. In general, French wines, I keep seeing that it's growing, which is good because the common history of our 2 countries has been, well, it's not as bad as with New Zealand, but I used to live in New Caledonia during the nuclear testing period, so I've heard all of that. It's getting better, but it comes down to one thing, which is the average level of Australian wine is going up, the average level of knowledge from the Australian customer is going up. And the more you know, the more you want to try different things, and that's where French wine, but also Italian wines, come into play. And most of the Australian grape types that you're using are originally from France. It's a bit like Italian wines. You keep the best to yourselves and you don't export it. And unfortunately, the public in France is not exposed to the very top end or to the very best Australian wines. You will find, wine lovers in France will have heard of Grange, will have heard of Hill of Grace, and that's about it. But they will not have heard of Mornington Peninsula. They will not have heard of, is it Hunter Valley Semillon, I think, unfortunately. So I wish these smaller estates could export more. I wish there were more interest in France for these kind of wines. There are some trade shows, but unfortunately it's probably 0.001% of sales. So, but one day it's going to come. Now, it's a more globalized world. There will be more and more people travel. You may have some French business people who will be exposed to top Australian wine in Australia or in Hong Kong. They will want to find it back home. They will ask someone to import it, and it will be maybe a couple of cases at the beginning, and then it will get into the top restaurants, and then so on and so on. But it's going to take years and years and years. I enjoy it especially because as I was a child I lived in Melbourne. I went to primary school in Richmond, 25 Cremorne Street, and I lived in East Ivanhoe. My father was posted for a French bank in Melbourne in 1981, 1982, so it's a very special place for me, very special. The easy answer is you should be looking for the same things that you're looking for in fine white wine. Because champagne is a wine, it boils down to that. You should be looking, I think, for great finesse. Champagne is not about really excessive power. You should be looking for great delicacy. You should be looking for, even though it's a buzzword, it's for minerality, for that sensation of dryness in the middle of the tongue, almost like the pebbles rolling on your tongue. That slightly iodic, sea salt, walk by the seaside type of smell, of taste, and for balance. I think champagne is about balance. And that's what you should be looking for. And if you're very curious, you should try to taste or to age champagne. Aged old champagne is much too much overlooked, and it's a shame because it's one of the most sensual wines there is, if not the most sensual. Look at what people do. If they have another sip, then usually they found what they were looking for. Santé.